ReefDudes is sponsored by Brightwell Aquatics and Bulk Reef Supply.
Today we're going to test out some Trident controlled dosing. What's going on, guys? Devin from ReefDudes. Now, as you guys know, a couple weeks ago I added the Trident to the system, and now that that's been up and running for a week or two, I've been really curious to try the Trident controlled dosing. So today we're going to set the dose up on the tank, and I'm mainly going to hook this up to elk. And if we take a quick look at my graph, you kind of see we go from 8.03, 8.31, 8.23, 8.13, 8.5, 8.29. It's about a 0.2, 0.3 swing. So what I want to do is see if we can set this dose up to be controlled from the Trident and kind of fill in that gap and see if we can level out the alkalinity. Now, a lot of the swing came from when I started adding in the calc at night. So I turned down how much the calcium reactor is dosing. I have calc dripping at night. Now let's give me something to kind of fill in the gap. Probably a little bit overkill to have 3 different dosing systems, but on the one side, it adds a lot of redundancy. So if one of them were to fail, the other one's not gonna, completely tank the tank. So it is kind of adds that extra level of redundancy. And the nice thing is with this way, if I'm out of town or something, and I see my elks dropping, I can just manually hit dose and tell it to dose them from the app. Aside from that, we'll see how kind of baseline level we can get it to go. So let's get this baby installed. Now for me, the best location is probably gonna be right up on the wall inside of here. I think that's where it's gonna fit best. And I did dig out one of the old Alkamax dosing containers, and we'll use this for our elk. On that note, while I was at it, I also decided to clean out all the reactors today. One thing I did, someone asked me about a while ago to show this. I did add some zap straps inside of there just to help mix it up a little bit more. Hard to say how much of a difference it makes, but I feel it helps a bit. Now, one trick for your mounting holes is to use a piece of masking tape and kind of mark where the screw holes are going to be. And I can put that in the cabinet, drill through it, and we know where our holes go. And that tucks up there just perfectly up and out of the way. Now to actually connect this to the system, the easiest way is to use a 1-link cable. So if you already have an EB832, Neptune does have the 4-pin 1-link cable, and this does power and data. So I'll plug this in, and then we'll be able to set up the dose in the apex. This guy just plugs into the side. You'll see it light up and it will initialize. Now the dose does come with soft tubing. I've always been a fan of using RDI, so I did pick up some of these little connectors, and these are the same thread as the dose, and it does connect to the 1/4-inch push fitting. So that's what I'm going to add on to this. That way I can continue using my RDI lines. And these guys fit on perfectly on top of it. I have no idea if Neptune planned this way, but it works really well. So you got the dosing line ran, and it comes from the bottom of the Alkamax dosing container up to the dose. Then it comes over, down, and into the sump. Now I put the dosing line right above where my little Nero 3 is. This is where the calc gets dripped as well. Same with the auto water change for the new water, so everything gets dripped right around here. And I drip it here because it's right above my little power head. Nero 3 is super tiny. It kind of keeps the Chaeto away from the edge and away, and it stirs up the water. So as my additives, as my alkalinity or as my kalkwasser is getting dripped in, it gets mixed up really quickly. So it works really well for that purpose. Now we of course need something to dose. So I am mixing up some Brightwell Alkaline 8.3p. So this is your alkalinity or KH supplement, but this one is also aimed at keeping your pH nice and high. So always a fan of increasing that pH whenever I can. And of course, to make life easier, I always like to use a magnetic stir because it does all the mixing for you. Put that little pill in there, let it mix it up, and it'll be crystal clear in no time, and we can add it to our dosing container. I'm also going to top off my containers while I'm at it. I got some of these little 1 1/4 gallon jugs. They're for water for in your Fridgy Slimline containers, but I got 3 of them for calcium, milk, and mag. They're good if you got to make a bulk adjustment. You can just go fill up however many mils you need and change it. Once she's all mixed up. Now that we have our Alkaline 8.3p all filled up, we can prime our lines, and to do that you just push the button. So left one for left doser, right one for right dose head, and you should be able to see the water or the dosing solution go through the lines. And what we're going to do is push it until we see it just start to drip out. And once it does, we know the lines are primed, and we're going to calibrate it. So now we want to calibrate the dose. So we're going to go into our tasks. We're going to go to dose calibrate. dose calibration. Everything's set up. Yep. Next. That's the right one. Yep. Okay, so got our in and our out tube. So now we're going to say calibrate. And now it should be dosing 40 mils. Alright, so it's stopped and we have, looks like 41 mils. So let's put 41 into the app. Okay, now let's do the next one. Now I don't actually have this one hooked up, so I'm just gonna pretend it's 40 and pour this one back in for now. Now the dose is calibrated, we're gonna go into our tasks and go to Trident controlled dosing. Confirm it's been running for at least 7 days, good understanding what's normal, sounds good. Okay, so select the parameter you wish to control, so we want to control alkalinity, and dose 1. Rename the dose output, perfect, so let's call it Alk. And let's tell it we want to maintain 8.5 DKH. Now let's do 8.3. Now the tricky part here is how much one adds per day. I don't actually know yet because technically I'm not dosing any additive right now, specifically, right? I'm dosing calc and calcium reactor, so I don't quite know yet. So I'm just gonna put this at say 5 mils and we're just gonna see what happens. Send. All right, so finish, there you go. So we will let this run for a few days and see what happens. All right guys, and I've had the Trident controlled dosing running for about 2 weeks now. Take a look at my elk, it definitely has helped make things more stable. Now a few tweaks that I have done along the way. I was previously only dosing calc at night, and that made it a little bit harder to dial things in. So I did change that to be 24/7, so it's just a nice steady consistent drip. And with that, I did notice I do have a little bit of a lower pH. I did have a bit of a higher pH overall, just dosing calc at night versus over 24/7. Now I also did tweak the alkalinity dosing in here. Right now I have it dosing about 20 mils a day, and that is between 11 and midnight. And that seemed to be where most of my alkalinity dips it was. So prior, it would kind of peak at 6 a.m. That was from the calc overnight. So spreading out to 24 hours definitely helped. And with the Trident controlled dosing, you can see it's been slowly climbing up, but it's been more consistent. Previously, there's a lot of ups and downs and valleys with the dosing, so it's definitely helped to dial things in a little bit more. Now that being said, I am using 3 different dosing methods. I have the calcium reactor, the calc, and the alkaline peon, the dose on top of that. So it definitely is a little more of a convoluted system, but it's starting to work to get things dialed in pretty good. Last night you can see a bit of a pH tank, and that was just from a bunch of people over. If you look at the CO2 levels, right now it's 600, and last night it is 1200. So with all the extra people, you can definitely see the effect it had on pH. If I look back a day or two prior, you can kind of see the pH has been pretty awesome, about 8.22 up to about 8.39 fairly consistently, and 8.18 was the low of that, and then last night with a few extra people in the house is 8.09. So it's about a 0.1 drop from having 4 or 5 people in the house. So it shows you how much of a difference people breathing affects your pH on the tank, which is still pretty crazy, but it's really cool to start to see these correlations. Now, taking a look at this, overall the elk has been getting it dialed in a lot more. Now I have been messing with a little bit, so it isn't perfectly stable yet, but I'd say it's getting pretty dang close. Now, if you don't have the Trident and you want to do it, like the dose itself does an awesome job of tweaking your dosing. It's really easy to just click on it, go into it, and you say, okay, how much you want to dose, but you could tweak it yourself. But the cool thing is the Trident controlled dosing will do it for you within a kind of a set parameters. So right now you can see I have it set to 20% or 20 mils within those hours. And if we go into the control interval, you can kind of see the set point. So we have the value as 8.3. So the Trident is going to do its best to keep it at 8.3. With the range of swing above it is going to be 0.4. So that would mean 8.1 to 8.7. And the limit of 35%, that's how much it is allowed to tweak your dosing. So I have it at 20 mils, I can do that plus or minus 35%. So it's kind of a safety limit to keep it in a safe range. But yeah, no, overall it's pretty cool watching it. If I look at the trends of it, you can see on some of the prior days all the ups and downs where it doses a little more where it thinks it needs it. And it is pretty cool how it will tweak itself based off your alkalinity result. So it's a really nice kind of set it, forget it way to roll. But yeah, overall pretty happy with the Trident and the Trident controlled dosing. It's a pretty cool setup. We'll definitely update you guys down the road once I've had more time to play with it, but about 2 weeks in now, and yeah, so far so good. So if you guys enjoyed this, hope you learned something. If you did, as always, hit that like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next video.